Most traders believe they are stuck. They believe they have been doing this for months or years, and they are no closer to consistency than the day they started. And I am here to tell you that belief is wrong. You are not stuck. You are progressing. The problem is you do not have a map. You do not know where you are, you do not know where you are going, and so every setback feels like proof that you will never get there. But there is a path. There has always been a path. Every trader who has ever achieved lasting consistency walked this exact same road. And today I'm going to show you the entire map, all 7 stages of it, so that you can look at your own experience, find where you are right now, and understand what you need to do to move to the next level. I can tell you this with absolute certainty. I have worked with thousands of traders over the course of my career, and the pattern is always the same, always. The details change, the markets change, the strategies change, the account sizes change, but the psychological progression is identical every single time. And once you see it, once you truly understand where you are on this path, something shifts. The frustration starts to dissolve. Because frustration comes from the belief that you should be further along than you are. And once you realize that you are exactly where you are supposed to be, that frustration loses its power. So let me walk you through every stage. And I need you to be honest with yourself as you listen. Do not place yourself where you want to be. Place yourself where you actually are. Your ego will resist this. Let it resist. The truth is more useful than comfort. The first stage is where every single trader begins, and it is the most dangerous stage of all, not because you lose the most money, but because you do not even know you are in danger. I call this the stage of blissful ignorance. You have just discovered trading. Maybe a friend told you about it. Maybe you saw someone on social media showing their profits. Maybe you read an article about someone who quit their job to trade full-time, and something inside you lit up. You thought, I can do this. I am smart. I am analytical. How hard can it be? And so you open an account, you fund it, you start placing trades. And here is the terrifying part: you might actually make money in the beginning. Not because you know what you are doing, but because the market is random enough that beginners can win by accident. And those early wins are poison. Because they confirm the story you are telling yourself: I am good at this. I have a natural talent. This is going to be my ticket to financial freedom. At this stage, you have no concept of risk management. You do not understand probability. You do not have rules. You are trading on gut feeling and excitement, and the fact that it sometimes works convinces you that your gut is reliable. It is not. You are a passenger on a roller coaster, and you think you are the one driving. This stage ends the same way for everyone: a loss. Not a small loss, a loss that shakes you. A loss that makes you sit back from your screen and think, wait, this is real money. This can actually hurt me. And that realization, as painful as it is the beginning of real growth. The second stage is the most emotionally difficult stage of the entire journey, and it is where the majority of traders quit forever. I call this the awakening. You have been humbled. You have lost money, real money, and for the first time, the excitement is gone. In its place is something new: fear, doubt, confusion. You start to realize that this is far more complicated than you thought. The strategies that seemed to work last week are failing this week. The market does not behave the way the book said it would. You feel like you are drowning, and every time you think you have found the surface, another wave pulls you under. The emotional experience at this stage is brutal. You feel stupid. You feel like everyone else figured this out except you. You look at other traders online and they seem confident, profitable, calm, and you are sitting there staring at a red account balance wondering what is wrong with you. Nothing is wrong with you. This is the path. Every successful trader you admire sat exactly where you are sitting right now and felt exactly what you are feeling. The difference between the traders who eventually succeed and the ones who quit is not talent. It is not intelligence. It is the willingness to stay in the discomfort long enough to learn from it. That is it. If you are in this stage right now, I need you to hear me. Do not quit. You are not failing. You are waking up, and waking up hurts. But here is the trap at this stage. The pain of the awakening creates a desperate need for a solution, and that desperation pushes you directly into the third stage. I call this the search. This is where you become a strategy collector. You start consuming everything you can find. Books, courses, YouTube videos, forums, Discord servers, indicators, trading systems, chart patterns. You are searching for the holy grail, the one strategy that will finally make everything work. Every time you find a new system, you feel a rush of hope. This is it. This is the one. You test it for a few days or maybe a few weeks. It works for a while and your confidence surges. Then it stops working and you feel betrayed. So you abandon it and go looking for the next one. I have seen traders stay in this stage for years, cycling through strategy after strategy, never staying with anything long enough to actually develop competence. And the cruel irony is that many of the strategies they abandoned were perfectly good strategies. The strategy was not the problem. Their inability to execute it consistently was the problem. But they did not know that yet. They were convinced that the answer was out there somewhere in the next book, in the next indicator, in the next guru's course. Let me tell you something that will save you an enormous amount of time and money. The strategy you have right now is probably good enough. If it has a defined edge and you have back-tested it, it is good enough. You do not need a better strategy. You need the ability to execute the one you have. And that brings us to the next stage. The fourth stage is where the real work begins. I call this the stage of awareness. You have stopped searching. Not because you found the perfect strategy, but because you finally realized the truth, that the problem is not your system. The problem is you. This is a profound shift. Most traders never reach it. But you have, or you are close to it, because you are watching this video. At this stage, you understand probability. You understand that no single trade matters. You know that your edge only plays out over a large sample of trades. You can articulate all of this clearly and logically, and yet you still cannot do it. You still move your stop loss. You still take profits too early. You still skip valid setups because you are afraid. You still revenge trade after a loss. Now, I know what you are thinking. You are thinking, if I understand all of this, why can I not just do it? And this is the most important question you will ever ask as a trader, because the answer reveals the fundamental nature of the challenge you are facing. The reason you cannot do it is that understanding is a function of your rational mind, but execution under pressure is a function of your emotional mind. And these two systems operate independently. Knowing that a loss is acceptable does not make the loss feel acceptable. Knowing that you should let a winner run does not override the fear of watching profits evaporate. Knowledge lives in one part of your brain. Behavior lives in another. And the gap between them is the entire game. This stage feels like insanity. You watch yourself do things you know you should not do. You feel like two different people, the rational trader who writes the rules and the emotional trader who breaks them. And the frustration is immense, because you can see the finish line, but you cannot reach it. But I need you to understand something. This frustration is progress. You could not be frustrated about the gap between knowing and doing if you were not aware of the gap. And awareness always precedes change. So how do you move forward? You stop trying to think your way out of a behavioral problem, and you start building structure. Which brings us to the fifth stage. I call this the stage of the rule builder. At this stage, you do something most traders never do. You take your knowledge and you codify it into non-negotiable rules. Not guidelines, not suggestions, rules. Rigid, specific, written down rules that govern every aspect of your trading. How much you risk per trade, what setups you are allowed to take, where your stop goes, where your target goes, what time you stop trading, what you do after a loss, what you do after a win, everything. And this is where it gets difficult. Because having rules is easy. Following rules is hard. At this stage, you follow your rules inconsistently. Some days you are disciplined, some days you are not. You might follow your rules for a week and then have one bad day where everything falls apart. You might follow them in the morning and break them in the afternoon. And every time you break a rule, you feel a deep sense of frustration with yourself because you know better. But here is what you might not realize. The inconsistency itself is progress. You used to break rules without even noticing. Now you break them and it bothers you. That means the rules have become part of your identity. They matter to you. You care about following them. And the discomfort you feel when you break them is the very thing that will eventually stop you from breaking them. Every time you break a rule and feel that sting of self-disappointment, Your brain is learning. It is building a negative association with rule breaking. And over time, that association becomes strong enough to override the impulse in real time. The practice that accelerates this stage more than anything else is tracking your behavioral compliance. Not your profits, not your win rate, your compliance. Every day, you score yourself on one simple metric: did I follow my rules? You give yourself a number out of 10, and you track it over time. This does two things. First, it makes the invisible visible. You can see your compliance rate going up week over week, even when your account balance is not. Second, it redefines what a good day looks like. A good day is not a profitable day. A good day is a compliant day. When that shift happens in your mind, you have crossed a threshold that most traders never cross. This is non-negotiable. The sixth stage is where the transformation becomes undeniable. I call this the stage of consistent execution. You are following your rules. Not perfectly, perfection is not the standard, but consistently. Most days you execute your plan. Most trades you follow your criteria. Most losses you accept without drama. The occasional slip still happens, but it is the exception, not the norm. And your account starts to reflect this. Not in dramatic wins, not in explosive growth, in steady, boring, incremental progress. And here is the paradox that defines this stage. It does not feel the way you thought it would. You expected that by the time you reached consistency, you would feel confident and excited and validated. Instead, you feel something you did not expect. You feel bored. You feel almost nothing. The wins do not excite you. The losses do not devastate you. You execute your plan and you move on. And a small part of you wonders, is this really it? Where's the thrill? Where's the rush? I need you to hear this very clearly. That boredom is the goal. That emotional flatness is the proof that you have arrived. Because the thrill and the rush were never signs of good trading. They were signs of gambling. They were your emotional brain hijacking your decision making. The absence of emotion is not emptiness. It is freedom. It is the freedom to execute without interference. It is the freedom to follow your rules without your survival instincts screaming at you to do something different. Most traders will never experience this. You are experiencing it because you did the work that nobody else was willing to do. If trading feels boring, you are doing it right. Let me say that one more time. If trading feels boring, you are doing it right. But there is still one more stage. The seventh and final stage. And it is the stage that separates good traders from great ones. I call this the stage of unconscious competence. At this stage, you do not have to think about following your rules. You just follow them. The way you do not think about how to drive a car, you just drive. The way a professional basketball player does not think about their shooting form, they just shoot. The mechanics have been internalized so deeply that they are automatic. Execution is no longer a battle between your rational mind and your emotional mind. There is no battle. The two have merged. Your rules are not something you follow, they are something you are. At this stage, you recognize setups without conscious analysis. You size your position without calculation anxiety. You place trades without hesitation and accept losses without narrative. You do not need to talk yourself into discipline. Discipline is your default state. And your results reflect this. Not because you found a better strategy, not because the market finally started cooperating, but because you removed every psychological obstacle between you and your edge. You got out of your own way. I have seen it 1,000 times. The trader who reaches this stage always says the same thing. They say, I wish I had known earlier that the strategy was never the problem. I wish I had known that all of this was about me. And that is why I am telling you right now, wherever you are on this path, that all of this is about you, your development, your psychology, your willingness to do the boring, uncomfortable work of building discipline one day at a time. Now let me bring this all together, because I do not want you to leave here with just a nice framework. I want you to leave with something you can use tonight. First, I need you to be ruthlessly honest about which stage you are in. Not which stage you want to be in, which stage you are actually in. If you are still searching for a new strategy every few weeks, you are in stage 3. If you have rules, but you break them regularly, you are in stage 5. If you know exactly what to do, but cannot make yourself do it, you are in stage 4. Find your stage, accept it, do not be ashamed of it. Every professional trader who has ever lived stood exactly where you are standing right now. Second, I need you to understand what moves you from one stage to the next, and this is important. You do not move forward by acquiring more knowledge. You move forward by changing your behavior. Stage 3 to Stage 4 is not about finding a better strategy. It is about realizing you do not need one. Stage 4 to Stage 5 is not about understanding more about psychology. It is about writing down your rules and committing to follow them. Stage 5 to Stage 6 is not about willpower. It is about tracking your compliance until discipline becomes a habit. Every transition is behavioral, not intellectual. Third, I need you to accept that this process takes time. Not days, not weeks, months, sometimes years. And that is okay, because you are not in a race. There is no deadline. The market will be here tomorrow and next month and next year. The only person who fails at trading is the person who quits before they complete the journey. Everyone else is simply at a different stage. Here's what I want you to do. Tonight, before you go to sleep, write down 2 things. 1, which stage you are in right now, honestly. 2, one specific behavior you will change tomorrow to begin moving toward the next stage. Not 5 things. Not a complete overhaul of your trading. 1 thing. 1 rule you will follow, 1 practice you will start, 1 habit you will build, and then you do that 1 thing tomorrow, and the next day, and the next day, and the day after that. Remember what I told you at the very beginning. You are not stuck. You have never been stuck. You just did not have the map. Now you do. And when you look back on this moment 6 months from now or a year from now, you will realize that the difference between where you were and where you are had nothing to do with the market. It had nothing to do with your strategy. It had everything to do with your willingness to walk the path every stage of it, even the painful ones, especially the painful ones. The 7 stages are not obstacles between you and success. They are success. The journey is the transformation. And the trader who comes out the other side is not just someone who makes money consistently. They are someone who has mastered themselves. And that mastery, that quiet, boring, unshakable discipline, is worth more than any single trade, any single month, any single year of returns. Because once you have it, nobody can take it from you. Not the market, not a losing streak, not anyone. You are on the path. Keep walking.